Okay, I'm going to call this painting done for now. It's really difficult for me, and I think a lot of artists to really call any painting done. And in fact, I may come back and look at this piece, in 3 years or maybe just 3 days, and look at it and say, you know what, something else I think I'd like to do to this. But I'm done with this one now. I think in my last video I mentioned that I was going to step away from it and do some other things and come back with it with fresh eyes before I worked on it again. And indeed I did. I stretched this canvas over here, getting it ready because part of the problem with this one is that I already have in mind, my next painting that I'm kind of wanting to do, and I got the canvas stretched for that, and then also, while taking my break, I started working on another smaller piece right here. And but yeah, this one here, I'm gonna call it done. So, for me, uh, I'm always asking myself, is it any good? And how do you define, whether or not a work of art is any good? And it's a lot of different people are going to have different ideas about that, and a lot of it just sort of boils down to, what is your definition of art? What is art? And for me, I mean, art to me, or at least my art, is about conveying some sort of message or a feeling or an idea. Usually, that's what it's about. And lately, that's what the intention of my works have been. I've been working on, I've mentioned, two different series. This one is part of my childhood memories series, and then others like the one, I'm not sure if the camera can see it, but the dog back there holding the New York Times is from a series, part of a series that I'm also still working on, called American Expat, and it's those works are about my impressions of my home in the United States, which is not actually my home now. I'm living here in Mexico, but looking at the United States from the perspective of a an expat living in another country. So, but anyway, getting back to this one, do I consider this any good? And I'm gonna, time will help me decide whether or not it's any good. But my main objective, I think, at least in this series and working with this, is to convey a feeling or an emotion that I experienced, from my childhood, and not necessarily the exact scenario. This is a specific, you know, incident that I lived in my life. I think maybe I was about 7 years old, and it's about sort of coming to terms with a young person, coming to terms with the realities of life, and so but I'm not necessarily expecting the viewer to come and get out of that, that story to know exactly what this represents. How did this toy rifle get broken? I don't expect the viewer to know that unless they've spoken to me, or maybe possibly read an artist statement that I might someday write about this piece or something. And what's the significance of the baseball and all those things. I'm not expecting a viewer that coming in fresh, not knowing me, to get that. But what I am hoping is that the viewer will get a sense of the mood or the feeling, and that's what I'm hoping will come out of that. So if the viewer gets a sense of sort of a cold harshness and sort of a sense of loss, then I think that's what I will consider a successful communication through this painting from me to someone else. Yeah, I'm kind of curious. If anybody wants to give me some feedback on what your interpretations of it are, and really, like I said, this is a narrative, and when you read a novel, two different people will come up with maybe two different interpretations of a story. Maybe if two different people might have been reading Charles Dickens and Great Expectations or something like that, and what describe the character of the intentions and feelings of the same character in different ways. So people, even in literature, where everything is literally spelled out, people will come away with different interpretations. And I totally expect that in my works of art. This one's done for now. And I'm looking forward to getting started on my next one, and I'm looking forward to any kind of feedback that I can get from anyone about, how do you feel about that paint? How does this make you feel? What's it make you think of? I've already had some feedback from some people, and they've given me how they've really sort of taken this image and related it to their own personal experience and points of view. And also the painting down here, I got some feedback, some really an interpretation from someone, and it was completely different from what my narrative was all about in this one. This is another one of my childhood memories, somebody gave me and it was really interesting to see how they had taken this image and found a way to relate it to their own life experiences. So that's it for now, and I'll get back to you maybe after I've done some work on this piece.